Okay, a compost should be like a damp sponge. And then what you, yeah, and then what you would want to do is put on your browns. Now, part of this is browns, but part of it is a green too.
Yes.
So, did you mix your brown? You've mixed your brown and green together.
No, I thought that the straw was browns.
It is.
And then my greens was greens.
Yeah. So what you want to start with your straw is your aerating base, and then the next layer would have been brown again, and then you start with your green.
Okay. We just had lots of straw, like more straw maybe.
Yeah. So what we can do is this is an easy fix right now. So what we can do is we can take out this bit here. You got a bit of kitchen scrap in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can take this little bit out. Grab yourself a hose, and we can.
Me with no garbage. Me with garbage. Holy, that's like 10 pounds. Ish, isn't it? I do feel set apart than the other 5 families who are in this challenge, only because I didn't apply to be in the challenge. I actually won the opportunity. I was at the Tide Marks. It was Earth Week Film Festival, and they drew my name for the grand prize and an opportunity to be a part of this compost challenge. But I'm going to rise up to it and do my best. So out of this challenge, I was hoping to achieve an understanding of proper composting practices. In the past, I ended up with a smelly mush that didn't break things down properly, and at the end of my first week, I'm surprised to find that it's much more than I thought. I'd wanted to use all our yard scraps and bush cuttings, and only to find out that they're not compostable. We can't use the moss and the grass, and so yeah, we've been having to search for the right ingredients for our compost. So definitely enlightening this first week, and yeah, I'm definitely achieving a better understanding of how it all works. Hey Gail.
Hi Kim.
I'd like you to meet my composter.
Hello composter, nice to meet you.
Yes, it's an earth machine.
Earth machine.
Yes.
You got some straw on the bottom.
Yeah, that's our first layer of brown.
Excellent, and what's your next layer?
We'll put some greens in, which is some grass, and then we'll put some compost in, and then cover it with another layer of brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll moisten it a bit.
And then when would you stir it, or when would you aerate it?
Not till it's a little fuller, and then we would just use the poker and aerate it once in a while.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So the issues that I'm not looking forward to with this composting, it's been a big learning week for us, is finding the leaves, the browns, to add. It's a very important part of the recipe, and you know, we had our laurel bush clippings and arbutus tree clippings, and it's summertime, and there are not a lot of leaves to be found, so I think that's the biggest challenge that we found so far. Elaine told us we were going to go looking for items to put in our composter, and we are, so that's sort of the biggest issue at this point. Once we're done and we have some nice compost to use, I would like to throw it into the flower bed and have a nice flower garden that's healthy and happy. Because right now it's not. Layer of grass. Just going to level out the layer of grass. Good. Now for the browns.
Looks nothing like he's just a
without garbage? Week with garbage. Week 1 was eye-opening. We learned a lot.
I think we mainly learned that our yard, etc., is not very compost friendly in terms of the materials that are in it, and that we have to go elsewhere to try and obtain materials to keep the composter going. And the main thing we have been doing, though, is we have been watering it a lot. That's probably been our main composting chore, has been keeping it wet.
So, of course, the biggest challenge this week that we have found is not having enough browns and greens to go into the composter. So, what we went ahead and did was get a bale of straw from Sharcare. And it's much, much more than we'll ever need at this point, but now we're set for browns. And because we don't really have greens in our yard, we've been hitting people up for their freshly cut grass, and that'll be our greens. So that's how we dealt with the challenge this week. So as far as weather changes, getting hotter or colder, we haven't really noticed much of a difference. You know, a lot of people might notice, well, the grass isn't growing when it's hotter. Our grass doesn't grow. You know, we don't water it, and we can't use it in our compost anyhow. And actually the amount of watering that we do for our composter is the same whether it's hot or cold out. So we're watering just as much whether the weather is good or bad. We actually don't make a lot of kitchen scraps. That's just a very small part of our composting. So probably once a week we bring our kitchen scraps out, and that is also dependent on if we have enough greens and browns for the layers. So for a while there we didn't have any browns, and so our kitchen scraps accumulated quite a bit until we got the layers that we needed. And so yeah, probably average once a week.
The garbage this past week wasn't as heavy as the first week, and I'm not sure how much that has to do with the composting part. I mean, we generally don't collect all our trash in the household every week. We sort of wait for the smaller ones to pile up a bit more within the house before we put them out, and that will happen this week. And I'm just curious to see how heavy it'll be this week. I imagine it'll be heavier again, because we really don't make a lot of scraps that even in the past were going into the garbage.
Hi.
Hi, Kim.
So I'm interviewing you. You're rooting for us, and why do you think we should win?
Well, I think you guys should win because I know you won to get into the contest, but I know how seriously you're taking it. Not only with the composting and trying to learn as much as you can, but you're also putting a lot of effort into the videos and stuff, obviously. So I'm totally rooting for you guys.
Thanks. So routine that we've established is, well, usually we get the compost scraps going, and once it gets full, probably twice a week, we'll put our layer of greens and dig a hole in the middle, put our scraps, put our browns on top. So twice a week for that, and watering, Huey waters twice a day. And that's the routine that we've got going on. So one of the challenges that we faced was not having the browns, and so we went to Sharcare and got ourselves a bale of straw, and now we have so many browns we're never going to use them all, but that's how we overcame that challenge. And a myth about composting is that it's always smelly and attracts flies and is yucky, but that's not true. Our compost does not attract the flies, and it smells earthy. So, yeah. I think the funniest moment for us with the composting, we had thought we were doing it right. We were a few days into it. We had some layers going, and then Elaine came and let us know that it wasn't going the right way. So, yeah, it was sort of one of those frustrating funnies. So we had been thinking that with the soil from our composter we'd make a flower bed, but I'm thinking now that I want to do some peas and beans, and I would like to give them some tender loving care, so I think that's what we'll do with the soil when it's ready. So tips and tricks for people who are just starting composting, I would say preparation, prepare. You need a certain recipe and you need all the ingredients, and start collecting some leaves in the fall so that by spring you're ready for your browns.
Yeah, and even just, you know, check out your yard to see that you have the proper
Materials.
ingredients in your yard. Because I don't really see the point in having to go to stores and rely on friends to supply you with materials to compost. You should be able to do it with what you have in your yard.
Ideally.
Even prior to the composting, we were conscious of our trash and we were recycling. But I think now we're maybe even more conscious to when, let's say, we're at the grocery store, to even make an effort to bring in, not to bring in as much plastic into the house to even have to recycle it. You know, like, rather than something that's maybe pre-made, like
The Caesar salad.
we can buy the ingredients separately and make our own, and not have, like, you know, that giant plastic container to deal with.
Without garbage, 160. With garbage, 169. Weight without garbage, 160. Weight with garbage, 169, 9 pounds again.
Is it 168?
Oh, maybe 168, 8
Yeah.
pounds. So once we obtained the necessary ingredients for our recipe, we haven't really had any problems overcoming the challenges. Tips for Campbell River families is just plan ahead and get the browns and greens, have them all ready to go, and you won't have any problems. So this challenge hasn't really changed our eating habits. We pretty much have the same diet. We're pretty much creatures of habit, so we're still eating the same. We sort of have a low glycemic foods that we eat, so we don't eat a lot of fruit, just mostly berries, and they didn't really have a lot of scraps. So it hasn't really changed anything. We're not really more conscious. We just take it as it comes. Oh, honestly, I thought I'd be relieved to get to the last week and be done with composting, partly because this was a contest for me and I won the opportunity to be in it. But we've become accustomed to it now. It's sort of a routine, so I don't really feel that way now. I think I'm motivated to keep going at least until the fall when we put our composter to bed, because I just want to see the final outcome after all our efforts. So I'm looking forward to seeing the soil we get. I think the biggest surprise for us was the lack of yucky smells that came from the composter. In the past, I've smelt some very yucky composters, so yeah, it doesn't smell. It smells like earth and soil, and that's not an unpleasant smell. And also, I was surprised by how quickly it became a routine for us. We just started doing it regularly, and it was no big deal. It just became part of our lives. I'm very proud of us for overcoming obstacles. We don't really have a compostable yard, so the stuff in the yard isn't useful for the composter, and we overcame that obstacle. I'm really proud of us for rising to the challenge. And so advice for other people with similar yards with evergreens and laurel and arbutus trees and not the greatest grass is just to be prepared and get your browns ahead of time, and find somebody with some good grass clippings. Last weigh-in for the garbage. End of week 4. Start weight 160 with no garbage. With garbage, it's heavy this time. 170, 171. 11 pounds of garbage.